Hello, Detroit Lions friends, fans, and family members. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike. And as always, we're diving on in. So, folks, this is definitely going to be a very different themed, very different feel, vibe, natured episode than what I normally do. But we need to talk about what happened last night as far as with the Detroit Lions and Atlanta Falcons game, and what is truly important, what truly matters, was obviously, and still is, the health and safety and well-being of Lions safety Morice Norris. Obviously, as we know, during the game, Norris suffered a severe injury after trying to make a tackle, and the game stopped for 20 minutes while the Lions and the Falcons training crews were working on him and trying to get him stable. And it seemed kind of like for a moment the Detroit Lions and the Atlanta Falcons for certain, but kind of like the NFL world in a sense, was collectively holding its breath, worried about, the health, welfare, and safety of Norris. Now, I'm going to say this. The thing about last night that absolutely, was the 100% important factor and news that came out later was that Norris is cognizant, he is awake, he is breathing, he is talking, and that it had been reported that he has movement and he has feeling in all of his extremities. So that in and of itself is the ultimate win, because for a player that has that severe of an injury to where the game stops, the players are done, the coaches agree that the game should not continue, and, everybody's worried, everybody has great concern about that player's health, welfare and safety, getting that news that he actually is, fully aware of his, his facilities, he is, fully cognizant, he has the ability to feel, he has the ability to move, he has the ability to talk. That is what you want to hear. That is the news. That is the only important thing. And I remember last night when I was doing my live stream and was watching it happen and unfold live, I was struck by the intense, somber, tone that was not only happening during the game, but I was also struck with immense pride and respect at how the Lions and the Falcons, players, coaches, training staffs, everybody, took that one particular incident to be more important than any football game. Because, as I said last night, at that point, the football matchup, the football game was not what was important. Not who won, who lost, none of that mattered. What mattered was that, Morice Norris, he won the most important game that there was, which is the game of life. The ability, to be able to say that he could walk away from what was going on with his life, with his health, and, with his well-being. And we found out, thankfully, that the news of that was quickly confirmed that, at the very least, preliminary-wise, everything is moving in a good direction as far as his health and as far as, his ability moving forward to retain, normal effect of what he should be able to do. And I still, even to this moment, I have a very interesting and a very somber impact in terms of my ability to not only fully put things into words, but also the effect and impact that it has on me seeing what I saw last night. Because, there's a lot of things that last night could have really shown the, for lack of a better word or lack of a better phrase, the ugliness and the greed of and the selfish of humanity. Because, how do I put this? When you're talking about certain things, it's a lot easier for some people to say, hey, you know what? The player's hurt. The player is, not doing well, but we're still playing a game here. We have to finish this out. We need to get this taken care of, and we need to get back to what we were doing. I know for some people, that might have been their thought process. But ultimately, what was the better and what was easily proven to be the decision that won out over both teams, both sets of players, both coaches, was that, no, this is not important anymore. And I think I'm going to try my best not to steer too much into the political realm here, because I absolutely try my best to refrain from politics and socio-political issues while I'm on my podcast, but it was absolutely refreshing and a humbling experience to see that, the players were more interested. They cared more about their brother that was on the field, regardless if he was in the same jersey and the same uniform as they were. And they were more interested in showing a collective, unified effort to say, hey, that's our brother out there on the field. That is our teammate because he's just like us. He is a part of the human race. He is a part of mankind. That is ultimately what matters. Not because, he's a Falcon, not because he's a Detroit Lion. None of that mattered. What mattered was, hey, that is a human being that is in clear distress, and that's what truly needs to be addressed, and that's what truly needs to have all of our attention and focus right now. And, the fact that the players, the way they responded about it multiple times during the whole process from, when the injury occurred to then, when eventually the game was called by the NFL, you saw the players have an immense amount of respect, not only for themselves, but also for, the overall bond, if you will, of themselves as players in terms of the entirety of the NFL, but also in terms of their team. And, watching these players, they're on the field, they're taking knees, they're praying, they're clearly very much concerned and more interested about making sure that brother that's down there on the field, that he, above all else, he's what is important. He's what's being taken care of. And again, it shows that, what truly matters in life is, somebody's ability to be, healthy and, be able to enjoy that gift of life that comes from, the good Lord above. And like I said, I felt nothing but immense pride and, and there was a sense of honor that came from those players last night and from the coaches and obviously the training staffs and everything, because everything else stopped for them. What truly mattered was making sure that Norris was taken care of. And I would hate to say it this way, but in the world that we live in today, that often gets lost. In the hustle and bustle and in the, the selfish viewpoints that a lot of people have nowadays of where it's me first and everybody else second. Everybody on that field put themselves second and focused on someone else that was not them. They said, listen, I'm not the one that's important here. Not my feelings, not my job, not my livelihood. Nothing else is more important than making sure that this guy gets top priority. This guy's the one that matters. And again, I say it just like the thumbnail image, and like I was last night, praise be to God that, first and foremost, Norris is doing well and that it looks like he's going to be okay. But also, praise be to God that there are still people out there that know what true value and true morals are as far as what truly matters in life. It's not all about money. It's not all about success. It's not all about how I can get further ahead in life. It's not all about what I can get. What truly matters is that, hey, when you recognize that someone is in clear distress, when you recognize that someone is, truly having a problem, you stop and you make sure that, hey, you help out your fellow man. You help out your brother. You help out your sister if that's the case. And to me, last night really showed that there are still people that are being taught what is right from wrong. That there are still people out there that are being instilled with good values. And that there are players in the NFL that, they prioritize others over themselves. And when we're talking about that in relation to the Falcons and the Lions, like I said, I first just want to say that absolutely nothing but top-notch class from the Falcons players, Raheem Morris, the training staff, the organization. They absolutely were the epitome of class last night because they're like, listen, you know what? This is nothing. This guy needs to be the top priority here. And the fact that Raheem Morris, as we found out, was talking with Coach Campbell and said, listen, we're done. We're not going to keep playing here. This is not what's important. We need to focus on Norris. We need to focus on him. We need to make sure that he is getting all of our attention, and he's the top priority here. And just the absolute class, the respect, and the honor that they had in that entire process just absolutely, it won me over. It won me over not only as a man, as a human, but it won me over as a fan of the sport and as a fan of, this game that I absolutely love more than just about anything. And the fact that the Lions players, when they were out on the field during that final play where, the Falcons took that one snap to, take a knee to have the clock run down. Again, the fact that those players got out on the field, they got together in that small little circle, that small little huddle, and they held a prayer right there out on the midfield. Again, you just see that class. You just see that, great love that they have not only for the sport themselves, but also for each other, regardless of who's wearing what jersey. And again, that speaks highly to the type of men that they are, but it also speaks highly to the leaders of those men. Again, Raheem Morris, Dan Campbell, obviously Sheila, Brad Holmes, Arthur Blank, who's obviously the owner of, the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, those are people that prioritize making sure that they have the right type of folks in their organizations as part of their teams. They're the ones that ensure that, hey, as Campbell has said in the past, there are no turds here. We are a team. We are a brotherhood. We are all about, doing the right things, not only in terms of football, but in terms of life. And last night, the entire world, the entire NFL, saw that in full 100% clarity and display from both the Falcons and from the Lions. And so, it's just a profound sense of feeling and impact upon, what was seen last night in regards to the injury and, the response that, both of those organizations, their staffs, their players, that they absolutely had for that situation. And, again, watching that and then hearing the news that Norris is doing well and that, it seems to be on his way to a recovery. Obviously, they're still doing tests. Obviously, they're still wanting to make sure everything is 100% okay. But with the preliminary news that, he's already talking, he's able to move, he has the ability of feeling in his extremities. I mean, you couldn't have asked, you couldn't have hoped, you couldn't have prayed for a better outcome. And again, I'm just very thankful, and I'm sure so are the teams, the players, the coaches, their staffs. They're very thankful that, it seems like everything is going in a good direction, and that obviously we'll get more news as time goes by. But I mean, it was a very heartwarming, situation to see how those players reacted and how, they handled everything in the face of extreme emotional turmoil and adversity. And like I said, I can't feel nothing but pride at how everybody reacted, to that very extreme moment last night. But I just wanted to talk about this and, kind of give an update over the news that had been, pushed out, but also give my deep thoughts, my deep viewpoints on this whole matter, and, be able to allow myself to kind of transition from what happened last night and then, slowly, hopefully start picking up, getting back into actually, talking about football, getting ourselves in an understanding of where things are. But the one thing I will say about this in terms of, the future change and impact is that stuff like this, it is going to make the players better. It's going to make them have something to rally around. It's going to give them something to have strength for. Because when you're able to go through something like that, and, as a team, you're able to rally around somebody who desperately needs it more than anything else, that has an impact that you cannot speak into words. And the fact that, the way that it was handled was probably in the most, absolutely best way possible, and was a true display of the fact that, there is still hope for humanity, and that humans can provide absolutely touching moments of care and, understanding. Again, it was just a profound moment, and absolutely one that I will probably never forget as far as, a sports moment in history. But like I said, I just wanted to talk about this so that way I could kind of provide myself an ability to kind of, process it all out, and then, start the transition to, talking about what happened in the game last night as far as the play, as far as player performance, and, being able to process all that and, kind of start getting myself in a frame of mind to now move forward going back into that direction. So, like I said, praise be to God. Hopefully, your prayers were answered as far as what you asked for. I know mine were. So, I just want to say thank you all for watching in another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to, watch to whatever your heart's content is. Hopefully everything in your life is going well. Hopefully you got something that makes you happy, makes you proud. And until I release my next episode here in a little bit after this one, just want to say God bless. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.